and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're already part of the Sprinkle Squad. I'm so happy to see you again, and sorry I didn't get this up yesterday, but honestly, my allergies are trying to end me this week. Like, it has just been a little bit rough, but so if I sound a little funny, I'm just having a lot of allergy issues because it is pollen season around here where I live. But anyways, I am again working on a build that I started a while back, and honestly, it really kind of took a turn at one point. Like, I kind of changed my mind as to what I wanted to do. What I will say is you're just gonna have to trust the process on this one because it definitely looks a little weird. Originally, when I started this, I kind of had if you've ever seen the movie Tangled, like the tower, that's kind of what I had in mind when I started this originally. And then it just kind of took on its own look. I kind of went for this castle-y feel, but like a little maybe older or run down kind of thing. I think it ends up looking really cute, and eventually this morphs into a vineyard. And because we just got the businesses and hobbies pack, I actually wanted to make this kind of a functional vineyard, and that like I intend for this lot to be used as a business where you would like sell the nectar you make. And there's like a little bar area so Sims can come and hang out, with the idea being maybe that they are having the nectar that you made at the bar on the lot, if that makes sense. So I think it turns out really cute. But when I started this, we didn't have the pack yet or anything. I don't think we even knew it was coming. So this is definitely a little while ago. And you can tell, I feel like a few of my builds that I've done recently have had terrain manipulation, and not shockingly, those builds took me a while to finish just because I'm not great with terrain. But there was a period of time when I wanted to do that, so I have several builds that utilized it, but then I didn't finish. But I think this turned out really wonderful. If you have seen my lighthouse build, I did that. It's been a while, but that's what it reminds me of. Some of the landscaping around this tower kind of reminds me of that. So lots of landscaping up this hill. I think it turned out really lovely, and I kind of wanted this build to be really small, like a tiny tower. So every floor is like a different room for the house. So in real life, this would be really inconvenient and not great to live in. But in The Sims, it's totally fine. You know what I mean? They can do that. So of course we have ladders going everywhere. And you may notice that I don't have room for a bathroom. So right now I'm literally building, the first floor is the kitchen, then the dining, and then living, and then the bedroom. It is not until I think maybe I finish basically the whole tower that I remember, oh my gosh, my Sims need a bathroom. So what we end up actually doing is creating this little like bump outs on the top floor where the bathroom's gonna be. I think it ends up looking really cool, but it was so funny. I was actually, when I was building this took 5 different build sessions for me to do, but part of the reason is I think maybe it was the second build session I was like working on it, and I finished. I was so excited, and then I realized I didn't have a bathroom. Like, it's completely finished, like the building itself, and I literally just saved my game, turned off the game, and just left my office. I literally was so upset. I was like, this is perfect, it's so cute, and then I realized there's no bathroom. So I was like, I need to walk away and come back to this to figure it out. But we do figure it out. It's just kind of funny. My husband works from home, so I walked over to his office in the house, and I just kind of laid on the floor, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, why do I even play The Sims? And he was like, what is wrong? I was like, I forgot a bathroom in a build that is not easy to like expand, because the whole point was for it just to be this small tower. But anyways, it was just kind of funny, but we figure it out. But it was definitely one of those, oh no. And I did play test this, so your Sim, fingers crossed, shouldn't have any issues when you download it. And I guess on that note, if you want to download it, it is on the gallery under my ID, Spice and Sprinkles, all one word, all lowercase, and down in the description if you want to see it written out. And of course, as usual, if you need to alter it or change things to how you want them or how your Sims need them to be, then of course feel free to do so. And I feel like I started out with it being kind of run down, was my thought, but I end up kind of refining it a little bit. And I'm trying to remember, I think I bring it may be the vampire counters, those green ones. I feel like maybe that's what I end up bringing in. But I think it turned out really cute, and your sim, like I said, shouldn't have any issues cooking or doing any of that. But I really tried to put a bunch of clutter in here, having different fruits and everything. And I did end up pulling, you can kind of see out on the, I don't know what you want to call it, little patio, that there's like a barrel and everything. And I was thinking, oh, that would be cute, to have a little vineyard. And of course, at that time, not being necessarily functional in that people could come and like buy stuff, if that makes sense. Like you would have to use a selling table. So again, later on, like incorporating a bar area and then some display cases for the actual nectar when your sim makes it. And I end up adding then a basement underneath the kitchen so you can actually store the nectar, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I think it's the nectar, it ages faster if it's underground. So I kind of put that under there as well. And of course, that's where your sim would actually make the nectar, is down there. So don't worry, there actually is a place for your sims to make the nectar. And I honestly, one of the favorite parts of my build is actually that little jut out right there off of the dining room. I make it like this little cute office sitting area. I'm thinking your sim goes out there and just enjoys the beautiful landscape and is sitting out on their little balcony on their computer. And I just think it's so cute. Like, I don't know why. I feel like the most random things about my builds that I really love, but like that one I really liked. And I will say, so for this build, I did put some trees. I put in, they're actually all lemon trees. So of course, please feel free to swap out whatever plants you want, that kind of thing. I just wanted, when I was building it, I wanted the look of trees specifically. I was looking up like a nectar making guide, and there was a couple of plants that I think were like year round, but they were plants and not trees. And I just wanted the look of trees on the lot, if that makes sense. So you can take them out, swap them out. If you get better fruits, that will make you more money, swapping those out. But it was, I got them out of Debug, and they just like, I placed it on the lot, and they like collapsed, into a little pile of dirt. They didn't stay as a tree. So I had to bring a sim on the lot and all of that kind of stuff so that I could cheat them so that they actually look like they were grown, mostly just for screenshots since I wasn't playing with it. And I also will say, I think I'm going to check again, but I guess I did just lie a little bit. This isn't actually on the gallery yet. So I was having issues with my gallery. This made me remember, because I was trying to actually download off the gallery. You can pull, people have put like rooms on there with plants. So originally I was trying to just get a room off the gallery that had some grown plants in it so I could place on the lot, and my gallery wasn't working. So actually, come to think of it, when I went to go upload this build, it wasn't letting me get on the gallery. And I feel like it came after we just randomly had an update. Was it last week or something? And now all of a sudden I can't get on the gallery. So I'm going to check again after I finish recording this voiceover. So actually, if you don't find it on the gallery, that's why. I'm going to upload it as soon as I can. But I don't know why I can't get on the gallery. Like, I'm not offline or anything. Like the EA... What am I trying to say? The EA app? There we go. It's not offline, but for some reason my gallery is. I don't know. And it won't let me do anything. Like, it just sits there and gives me the little spinny thing. It doesn't crash my game or anything. It just kind of doesn't actually get on the internet. So let me know if you've had that issue or if you know what that is. I don't know. None of my mods are broken or anything. So I'm not sure what, like the update didn't even turn off my mods. So I don't know what's going on. So hopefully maybe after this I'll check and it'll be fixed, but it'll be up as soon as I can get it up on the gallery. So I think that's kind of funny. Yeah, I literally said it's on the gallery. It's not yet. But anyway, so just kind of in here, I really wanted it to be like cluttered and just cozy, and it took me a little bit because I loved the windows on these rooms. So between the windows and how small the rooms were and making sure I had ladders and your sim could get everywhere, it definitely posed a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out how to do a layout. And I will say, when we get to the bedroom, I actually end up having to rework the layout of the bedroom. So when you see the screenshots, it's a little bit different, and that's why. I really thought your sim was going to be able to use the bed and everything the way I had it, but my sim just could not figure it out, like literally couldn't figure it out. So I did have to move things around. So don't worry, again, it should be functional and all that kind of good stuff. It's just, it looks a little bit different. And I figured that might happen since this is such a small build and everything. And I do end up using these windows here that are kind of like messed up and broken. Again, originally I thought maybe I would do a really rundown tower castle-y thing, and I don't know, I kind of like the look of it, and I'm thinking maybe the Sim's like fixing it up, that kind of thing. I feel like that might be a cool storyline, like if your Sim is working on, you know, the vineyard and making nectar and they want to update this, you know what I mean? Like you can see I used the stone on the outside that has like the moss kind of stuff on it, so maybe they spend money and clean it up, or I don't know. I think that would be kind of a fun storyline, swapping out some of the windows and everything. And I believe those are life and death windows, if I'm not mistaken. And again, I end up just kind of putting all kinds of stuff everywhere, and of course using that little nectar bottle we got with the bistro kit there on the coffee table, because I just thought that was so cute, and having that collage of pictures there over the fireplace. And of course, as the room is so small, the fireplace is quite large, but I thought it looked really nice. And I will say I was very proud of myself. I know I've talked about this before. I always have issues when I use fireplaces that the Sim, there's not enough room between the fireplace and like the coffee table or the living room furniture so that they can actually light the fireplace. My Sim was actually able to light the fireplace without me having to move anything. So I was very impressed by that my Sim was able to do that. So I was kind of excited. And again, still working on the bedroom here, still not figuring out that I don't have a bathroom. But it took me a little bit to figure out how I wanted this to look, to be honest. I had a little bit of trouble here in the bedroom, just trying to figure out what I wanted the layout and the colors. Like I started with that really dark life and death bed, that like dark green, which is very pretty, but I just felt like it didn't quite fit, which is ironic because I think I swap it out for the other life and death bed it's like black, but I think the mixture of that like tan beigey color and that really pretty like dark rose color I think worked out really nicely. So I end up actually swapping the bed around to the right wall is what ends up happening, and then I end up having a dresser in that bedroom. I swap it to where the bed currently is, and that made things better for the Sim to be able to actually get around and everything. And we're gonna ignore the fact that I'm putting like candles on the wall right next to curtains. We're gonna say it's safe. It doesn't actually make a difference in the Sim, so we're gonna do it anyways and not talk about it. But I mean, I guess I'm talking about it now, but I did it anyways because I thought it looked cute. And of course, again, I ended up having to change stuff for the bathroom as well, but I think it turned out well. I actually really like the bathroom too. I know that sounds really weird. Like, I feel like bathrooms are not usually rooms and builds that are interesting, you know what I mean? Because a bathroom's a bathroom, and a lot of times they end up being very similar, you know, like a 2x3 and that kind of thing. And I tend to use the same toilet in a lot of my builds. It's just because I like it, but I think I use a different one in this build. I just think it turned out really nicely, and I still can't believe I forgot. Like thinking about it, I was so excited about this build, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't put a bathroom in there. But anyways, just adding a little bit of like a trellis here over that balcony. I actually end up adding some curtains too. I feel like that makes it kind of like magical feeling. I don't know, like having curtains around there I thought was really cute. And of course it took a little bit of work to get them to look nice there, but I ended up using these island living ones, which I think turned out really nicely. They're the same ones I end up using around the bar area as well, which you'll see a little bit later on. And you can kind of see I randomly am getting out items that I'm finding and just kind of placing them on the lot, so don't worry, they don't stay there, they end up moving around. But at this point is when I figure out I need a bathroom, and I figured it made the most sense off of the bedroom. I don't know, like I feel like that's what I would want if I was living in a tower like this, although I don't think I would ever live in a tower like this. It just kind of, I don't know. Anyways, I feel like that's just what I would want, is to have a bathroom there. And then I end up using these little pieces here. I always forget what they're called. They're like roof pieces, but I figured they look kind of like supports for that random random room that is sticking out of the side of this tower. And The Sims doesn't want you to go more than 4 stories high, which is why I just didn't add another room. I think there's ways to get around that, but I just opted to kind of put it there instead of making your Sim go another floor up to try to do stuff in their own home. But of course I do end up adding in a basement, but it's fine. We won't talk about that. But like I said, I do end up liking the way this bathroom turns out. I end up putting in a like bay window actually on the front, which I think looks really nice. I don't use that window super often, but there was something I feel like, you know, I had those 2 windows there, but I felt like there needed to be something a little bit extra. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't enough like interest on that random piece of this build, and so I end up swapping that out, and I think it ends up looking really cute. And I do believe I actually leave it with the curtain. And listen, I just felt like the archway and the curtains made more sense. And again, this is probably like a 1 sim home, potentially 2. So I just figured it works out that way. This is not something I would want in my own home. I want a door on my bathroom. But for the Sims, I figured, you know, it's fine. They don't care. Like, it's totally fine for them. And I don't know. I just think this ended up looking really cute, and then just adding in all the clutter. I don't think I really ever use that mirror, but I think it looks really nice in there. Same thing with the sink. I don't feel like that's something I use very often either, but I think it turned out really well in this space in particular. And I guess that's what this build let me do, is use items I don't usually use, including like the toilet. I don't use that one very often. So I think it just kind of pushed me to do something a little bit out of my comfort zone, since this isn't usually my style of build. And this is, I guess, at the point where I actually put that bay window in, and I think it just looks, I don't know, it looks really cozy. I don't know why. And then I just end up kind of putting a plant and everything on there. I tried my best to actually get it to place like on that shelf, but the game is a little bit weird about that. So I did my best. I did what I could to make it make sense. So hopefully those items aren't hanging off too much, but I think they turned out pretty nicely right there. And then just adding a little more decor in here. And like I said, I end up having that little cute cozy office space, which I think worked out really well. And I ended up using that pergola there for like over the bar area, because I felt like the build is so big, like it's so tall, that I needed something to really help the bar area stand out, if that makes sense. And I figured if it was outside, you would probably have that over it. And it reminded me, you know, like of Vineyard, what am I trying to say? The trellis lattice, you know what I mean? And I actually end up pulling out of, I believe it's Horse Ranch. There is a debug item that has like grapes and stuff on it. I mean, of course, I guess that makes sense since we got nectar making with that pack, but I end up kind of putting it along the fence back there, and I think that turned out really well and kind of added a little something. And then I ended up doing basically 3 levels for the trees over there, again, just to add a little more height to this landscaping and to give it a little more interest. And I felt like it might be a nice view if you were sitting and, you know, hanging out at the bar, that like you'd be able to see all the trees and everything. And I did put a fence around the actual plant area as well, since I have had Sims like come to my lot and like mess with my plants, and I figured maybe you wouldn't want that to be happening. Like, you wouldn't want Sims just to be going over and picking fruit or anything like that, since you know, would use that for the nectar making. I thought about putting a roof over all of that. However, because I used, I guess, I think it was medium wall height on that first floor, it would force me to use medium wall height over that, and it just looked really weird. Like, it looked too big, so I ended up taking them out. But of course, if you wanted to add something like that, feel free to, and then you can plant whatever you want to under it and not have any issues with things being in season, that kind of thing. And that's also why I picked lemons, because I wanted a tree and my game was in summer, I believe, so making sure the plants would actually still be alive when I went to go take the screenshots, because I didn't want them to go away or anything like that, or just look gross. For my screenshots, I wanted them to look really pretty and everything. So, and of course, if you look really closely, you might see a bunny or 2 running around, since I am in Henford on Bagley, and I did have to add in a sim. There's like 2 bunnies over there in the vineyard area, which is actually super adorable. And then I end up putting the cases from businesses and hobbies, and so you can actually sell the nectar that your sim makes. I thought about putting those round like stands there as well, but it just felt out of place. Like it didn't feel like it really matched the theme, like the feel we had going on here. So I ended up taking those out, and I actually put two little fountains there, which I thought ended up looking really adorable. And then using a lot of purple was the color I kind of went with the grapes and all. I figured that was kind of appropriate, and just adding that all over the place. And I think that big fountain I used, I think I grabbed that out of, I believe it was Horse Ranch Debug, I believe is where that came from, in case you're wondering. And it is functional. It did work when I went into live mode, so in case you're wondering if it actually worked, because some items don't work as intended when you use them out of debug, if that makes sense. So that does actually look nice. I do end up putting like a bench over there, and I put a bench over in the vineyard area too. I figured, your sim could go hang out there, look at their plants, that kind of thing. Again, that's kind of more so in my head than it is in actual gameplay, but I think it just adds a little bit of like storytelling, if that makes sense. And at this point, I'm here adding all of the landscaping, all of the flowers, everything everywhere is what I end up putting here. And honestly, I think it turned out really nicely, just having all of that layered here and having that lush landscaping. And like that wasn't, again, that's not what I originally thought I would make this build look like, but I just think it just ended up looking so cute. So of course, pulling out a lot of purple and white plants, since I like kind of, if I'm doing a theme, I usually put a little bit of like some white flowers in there to break up all of the color, especially if I'm doing like a single color. I feel like it just helps things look a little more cohesive, if that makes sense. And then since I am using like terrain, I used rocks to kind of fill in some of that like empty space where it was a little more difficult to put plants in. So I'm trying to talk a little bit about my process, just in case you try to use terrain and like how do you landscape off of it. I found, especially after I did my lighthouse build, that if you can do like separate layers, like I try to do 2 layers of terrain over by the tower, it makes it a little bit easier to actually layer plants if it's not super steep, which I feel like I had that issue with my recent wedding park. I ended up making it too steep, and so it didn't really want to do much with landscaping. Like it kept popping around, like the stuff didn't want to stick to it kind of thing, and it just looked like there was a lot of room everywhere. So we end up layering all that stuff, and then I go in with rocks to kind of fill in between those layers, and I think it turned out really nicely. And of course I do go back and add in some landscaping lighting as well. And I honestly, the space around the actual tower, I was putting that off like until the very end because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do there. I will also say, now that I'm thinking about it, that I didn't put a trash can like over in the bar area. That might be worthwhile. I'm thinking maybe if your Sims have drinks left over, or if you want to put like a sink out there. The only issue with that, I tend not to put multiple like kitchen sinks in my builds, because your Sim kind of, I wouldn't want your Sim to be cooking something or try to throw something away in their home and then have to walk all the way across the lot because they decide they want to use that sink, if that makes sense. So hopefully that doesn't cause you any actual like gameplay frustration, but of course you can add it if you would like to. But yeah, Sims just kind of for no reason to be like, I'm in this room and I'm going to go across the lot though and use this other sink. I know that you can kind of set like bathroom and kitchen sinks, but you can't, I don't think there really is a way to tell your Sims use this sink and not that one, if that makes sense. But anyways, just kind of doing the little nectar making area down here. I end up adding a little chair and making it kind of a cute area for, again, I was going to say your Sim to hang out in. I don't necessarily anticipate your Sim hanging out down here unless they were actually making nectar. But in terms of it being something pleasant to look at, I feel like that's some of my build is like just making it pleasant for the actual player to look at, if that makes sense, since your Sim doesn't actually care. Although they care if they don't like it. Like if they just decide, I don't like the interior of my home, which is honestly really insulting. I've had Sims do that. Like I've gone to playtest builds and the Sim is immediately like, oh, this is gross. I don't like this house. And it's like, that's rude. I just spent several hours making it and you're just not even gonna like it. That's fine. They're not actually gonna live there. They're just playtesting it. So it's fine. But I did add in an umbrella area here for, your actual Sim to use. And I did make all of like the tower a private like residential area. So hopefully the rest of it then is considered public, since the rest of it's not really rooms per se. You know what I mean? So hopefully that, again, doesn't cause any issues when you're actually trying to use this lot. And I end up just putting some of like this gravelly looking tile here, and then I end up putting some like puck lighting on the ground, the ones from Desert Luxe, which I don't know why I always have the hardest time finding them. I think that's why I forget they exist. I like them because they're smaller than the original ones we have in the game, but I don't think it lists it under like outdoor lighting, although I feel like that's where you would use it. I don't know. There's several items in the game that I don't know why they're not put in other places, if that makes sense. Like, that's why I never use them, because I forget about them. Like, I think the high top table from Tiny Living is not in dining tables or something, or at least it didn't used to be. And so I don't know if I really ever use that unless I specifically think about it, because like I don't see it then. So I don't know. But again, just adding in a bunch of plants, a bunch of rocks, just all of the things. Like, I wasn't anticipating putting a bunch of landscaping up by the tower, but then I was like, oh, I need to. Like, it looks really cute and I like it. And then just adding in that fountain there. And I believe, is that the, where did that fountain come from? Oh my goodness. Is that the Riviera Retreat? No. We got those like rock things from Riviera Retreat, maybe. Anyways, I forgot. We have so many items in the game at this point. I just, sometimes my brain just like blanks out and I don't remember where some of the items actually end up coming from. But basically I'm copying and pasting like all of the items, and again, that's why I actually use Better Build By, which I mention it just because if you enjoy building in The Sims, if you do end up using debug, that kind of thing, you can actually copy and paste things out of debug, which is really nice. You can't do that otherwise. And I also wanted to mention, you could see there by the front door, it would not let me place that tile stone I was using. I do not know why. It just would not let me place it. So I just covered it up with a rug. Like, so if you're wondering why it's like I have a rug there, I mean, that is a thing now. People are doing the rug under the doormat thing. So that's kind of what I ended up doing there, because it just would not let me put that there. I don't know if it has to do with the balcony I put above the door, or if there was something weird going on with the train paint, but I tried fixing it and experimenting with it, but it said, no, I'm not going to allow you to put that there, even though like it's flat and it's not considered a room. It's not doing anything. I don't know what it's doing. So who knows, maybe if you download it, maybe it'll like behave properly in your game. I have no idea, but I feel like sometimes when I'm building, like weird stuff like that ends up happening, and I don't know how to fix it. But I guess that's honestly what comes with, I feel like, playing The Sims, is stuff just kind of happens and you don't honestly know why. So I am also lining these up the best I can, but I had a hard time seeing beyond the trees. So if they look a little bit off, I apologize. Please feel free to fix them. I did my best trying to actually see past them. But if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.